Forced to pull another all-nighter to make rent, Ethan's world went fuzzy, then dark. The most tragic thing for a wage slave was dying before the money ran out. With no family, his meager savings would just sit in a bank account, unclaimed. When he opened his eyes again, he was somewhere else entirely. A shimmering text box hovered in his vision, explaining that if he could successfully reform a cast of villains, he would be given a second chance at life. The system asked if he, Ethan, was willing. He nodded with all the energy he could muster. For the sake of his own bank balance, he had to complete the mission. The system seemed pleased and vanished, allowing a flood of new memories to pour in. This was bad. Just moments ago, his new body's previous occupant had made a powerful enemy of a young man named Liam. This Ethan was the youngest senior fellow at the prestigious Blackwood Academy, a man so revered that students clamored for a spot in his exclusive seminars. Liam had been one of them. The original Ethan, however, had barely glanced at the boy, dismissing him as a scholarship case with a mediocre academic record. Liam's face had burned with humiliation as he pleaded for a chance. Annoyed, the original Ethan had publicly eviscerated him with a torrent of insults before having campus security escort him from the lecture hall. His parting words, cold and sharp, were that Blackwood wasn't a place for just any stray to wander into. What he didn't know was that Liam was destined to become a ruthless corporate raider, whose first act of revenge would be to systematically destroy the original Ethan's career and leave him a broken man. A tremor of fear went through the new Ethan. He bolted from his office, chasing after the boy. Thankfully, Liam hadn't gotten far, slowed by a profound sense of defeat. His eyes were shadowed, his posture slumped and miserable. Ethan reached out a hand, his voice steady. He told Liam that the earlier incident had been a test, a trial of his resilience, and that he had passed. He then asked if Liam still wished to be his student. The young man froze, his head snapping up to seize Ethan's hand, his eyes shining with a sudden, desperate light. He was willing. Ethan let out a long breath. A villain not yet consumed by bitterness was still pliable. As a show of good faith, he gifted Liam a personal heirloom, a vintage crimson silk tie. A text overlay flickered in his vision. User feedback. A tie that binds. Excellent for later use. The color red will look striking against the professor's fair skin. Imagine the professor tied up by his devoted student, and then the rest of the message was a string of pixelated squares. Ethan stared at the garbled text, wondering what on earth it could mean. He glanced at Liam's earnest, determined face, a picture of scholarly devotion, and decided the system must be glitching. After bringing Liam back to his faculty residence, Ethan offered him a drink to soothe his nerves. The boy's shirt was torn at the shoulder from the scuffle with security, a stark reminder of the original Ethan's cruelty. Ethan found himself dabbing the scrape with an antiseptic wipe, leaning in close to ask gently if Liam held any resentment over the day's events, explaining it was all for his own good. Liam shook his head, his face flushing as he looked down. Just as Ethan felt a wave of relief, another system notification appeared. The physical pain is gone, but another ache is beginning. Where could it be aching? A real mystery. Will require the professor's special attention to heal. Ethan frowned and asked with renewed concern if there was anywhere else he felt unwell. Liam shrank back slightly, his voice husky as he insisted that he was fine. Professor. Ethan officially took Liam on as his personal mentee, and their bond grew closer. The only oddity was Liam's tendency to blush crimson whenever Ethan was near, his entire body seeming to radiate an intense heat. The system continued to display cryptic, pixelated messages that he tried his best to ignore. Not long after, the second antagonist returned from a fellowship abroad. The moment Caleb saw Ethan, he leveled a fencing foil at his throat. Caleb was the orphaned son of Ethan's own mentor, and the university president had treated him like a second son. He and the original Ethan were known as the two most brilliant minds of their generation at Blackwood, a constant source of comparison and rivalry. The original Ethan had doted on Caleb like a younger brother, But Caleb had only seen him as an obstacle to overcome, a fixation that festered into a corrosive obsession. In the original timeline, this obsession drove Caleb to ruin, and he dragged Ethan down with him, orchestrating a scandal that destroyed Ethan's academic standing. Remembering that bleak future, Ethan forced himself to close the distance with Caleb. He asked him if he had missed his big brother during his year away. Caleb was unmoved, the tip of his foil pressing closer. He told Ethan to cut the nonsense and face him in a match. Ethan sidestepped the blade with a weary sigh, pressing himself against Caleb's body in a disarmingly casual embrace. He suggested they relax first, that he would join Caleb in the faculty sauna, and they could spar afterward. Caleb eyed him suspiciously before grunting in agreement. As the story went, Caleb had spent his entire life in the original Ethan's shadow, perpetually second best. Such an environment was a breeding ground for resentment. In the steam-filled heat of the sauna, Ethan poured cool water over Caleb's back and spoke in a placating tone. He confided that, of everyone at the academy, he saw the most potential in Caleb. The younger man's body went rigid, likely and used to praise. He responded gruffly, questioning why he would need Ethan's approval and stating that their skills would do the talking. Ethan leaned closer to his ear, intending to offer more encouragement, telling him that life wasn't about constant competition, but about being true to oneself. The next thing he knew, he was being shoved, fully clothed under the cold shower spray. Caleb's ears were burning as he demanded to know who he really was. The Ethan he knew would never say such things. He would only state with detached coldness that Caleb had failed again, that he hadn't worked hard enough. Ethan, feigning composure, locked eyes with him. He was Ethan, he insisted, Caleb's brother. He reiterated that Caleb was the most gifted person he had ever known. A new system alert flashed. His talents are indeed exceptional. Wink. In certain areas, he is a true prodigy. The brother should continue his seduction. Caleb is the type to keep his brother in bed for days. Ethan frowned. Even after all this, did Caleb still want to fight him? And beat him so badly he couldn't get up for days? Before he could say more, Caleb stalked out of the sauna without another word. After that, whenever Caleb challenged him to a fencing match, Ethan would deflect, claiming he was too busy mentoring his new student. Caleb didn't believe him, remarking on how the notoriously arrogant Ethan, who thought no one was worthy of his time, had suddenly decided to take on a protege. His disbelief turned to a sharp-eyed glare when he saw Ethan in the library, guiding Liam's hand over an ancient text. Ethan's finger brushed Liam's side as he pointed out a passage, causing Liam to flush and nod obediently. The next day, Caleb appeared at Ethan's door, épée in hand. He requested that his brother teach him as well. Ethan was overjoyed, seeing this as a sign that his attempts at friendship were working. He began tutoring Caleb with the same dedication he showed Liam. During one session, Caleb's lips brushed against Ethan's neck as he leaned in, murmuring something about how nice his brother smelled. Ethan, focused on the lesson, paid it no mind. When they finished, Caleb stared at him and asked if Ethan truly believed that with enough effort, he could ever surpass him. Ethan sensed an opportunity for another dose of encouragement. He moved closer, his voice a low, persuasive murmur. He said yes, that he was waiting for the day Caleb surpassed him. Caleb just snorted, but the tips of his ears turned a telltale pink. The system chimed in again. I'm waiting for you to surpass me in bed. The brotherly love is real. When his ears turn pink, his censored is even censored. Again with the incomprehensible messages. The following days were a delicate balancing act. He was placating Liam on one hand and managing Caleb on the other. The tension had vanished, replaced by an odd domesticity. They would sometimes join him in the spa. Liam would knead his shoulders, asking if the pressure was right. Ethan sighed in contentment. It was perfect, absolutely heavenly. After years of corporate drudgery in his past life, saving every penny, he'd never experienced such relaxation. Caleb would massage his legs, his hands calloused from years of fencing. The texture was slightly rough. Ethan murmured for him to be a little gentler. Instead, Caleb's grip tightened, sending a strange, tingling sensation through him. He gripped the edge of the bench, letting out an involuntary gasp. Caleb whispered by his ear that his brother should just bear with it. A little pressure was more effective. When it was over, he offered to return the favor, but Liam turned away, his face scarlet. While Caleb shook his head vigorously, wrapping a towel tightly around himself and walking away with a strange, stiff gait. The system's feed filled with more censored gibberish about little mice and bathroom antics. The brief period of peace was shattered when the third villain arrived. Jax brandished a riding crop outside the faculty building, shouting for that dog Ethan to show his face. The original Ethan and Jax had known each other since their undergraduate days and should have been friends. But they had chosen different career paths, their respective corporations putting them on opposite sides of several bitter acquisitions. Friendship had curdled into a fierce rivalry. Jax frequently challenged the original Ethan, who never deigned to acknowledge him. In the end, when the original Ethan's career imploded, Jax had been there to pick at the scraps, tormenting him relentlessly. The thought of that future sent a chill down Ethan's spine. This time, he went out to meet him. When Jax saw him, his breath hitched. He sneered, asking if Ethan had finally decided to grace him with his presence. Ethan forced a smile and proposed a truce. Jax flicked the crop. He scoffed, asking if Ethan was looking down on him. Ethan produced a flask of whiskey, one Jax had given the original Ethan years ago, which had been carelessly tossed aside. Now, Ethan used it as an olive branch, an attempt to awaken some lingering warmth in Jax's heart. Jax's eyes flickered, his gaze fixed on the flask, his expression unreadable. He asked in a complex tone if Ethan had actually kept it. Seeing his chance, Ethan leaned into the performance, his voice full of feigned emotion. He told Jax that after they had drifted apart, he had thought of him often. He asked again for a truce, suggesting they could be friends once more. The system display lit up. A truce is impossible. Friends can't do censored. Agreed. Ethan sighed. So it wasn't going to be that easy. While Jax seemed moved, his hostility hadn't completely faded. He demanded to know what new game Ethan was playing. The crop whistled through the air. Ethan chose not to resist, grunting as it struck his shoulder. It stung. Jax's jaw was tight. He asked why Ethan didn't dodge. Ethan replied that if it made Jax feel better, he could hit him. As the second blow came, he braced for impact, but it never landed. The leather wrapped around his waist, pulling him into Jax's arms. Ethan took the opportunity to feign a collapse. The system continued its live commentary on Jax's thoughts. Ethan, what are you plotting now? But the way he feints makes one want to censored. Ethan was done with the pixelated suggestions. What violent act did Jax want to commit that couldn't even be displayed? He held his breath, ready to run. But after a long moment, Jax only stroked his cheek, the touch surprisingly gentle. His voice was a low growl from above. So soft. This was getting weird. The system was ecstatic. Rivals to lovers. The ultimate trope. In the end, Jax carried the unconscious Ethan back to his residence. Before leaving, he even tended to the welt on Ethan's shoulder, though the process was an ordeal. Jax's large hands roamed around the injury on his chest, a sensation that was both painful and ticklish. Ethan's eyelids fluttered, nearly giving him away. Jax leaned down, whispering in his ear that he would be back for him. Upon returning to his rooms, Ethan was immediately flanked by Liam and Caleb, both asking with concern if their professor and brother was all right. Before he could answer, a tall figure pushed past them and threw himself into Ethan's arms. A young voice cried out, saying how much he'd missed his father. This was Noah, the boy the original Ethan had taken in as his ward, the story's sole protagonist. From his looks to his demeanor, he radiated righteousness. But according to the original plot, he wasn't supposed to be back from his overseas program yet. Ethan patted Noah's head and asked if he'd returned early. The boy lifted his head from Ethan's chest, his gaze surprisingly cold. He asked why his father had gotten so close to these mediocrities while he was away. Noah's words were aimed squarely at Liam and Caleb, who stood a short distance away, looking on. Ethan quickly intervened, telling Noah to be polite. These were the villains he'd worked so hard to pacify. Noah then asked if his father would still sleep with him tonight. To maintain the original Ethan's persona as a doting guardian, Ethan nodded. Of course he would. Across the room, Liam and Caleb watched, their hands clenched into fists. The system display flashed again. Wow, the main partner arrives and immediately asserts dominance. That's the kind of confidence we like to see. Those two tried their hardest just to get into the sauna. And this kid comes back and gets to share a bed. That night, Noah burrowed his face into Ethan's chest, his voice soft and muffled. "Father." Ethan's heart softened, and he didn't push the boy away. In the original story, Noah had a tragic backstory. His parents, colleagues of Ethan's, had died in a terrible accident, and he'd been left traumatized. The original Ethan, in a rare act of compassion, had saved him from a bleak future in the foster system and became his legal guardian. Ethan asked if his program had gone well. Noah shook his head, saying it hadn't, that he was struggling with his inner demons. Ethan was puzzled. What demons? In the novel, Noah was the most focused and untroubled character, never wrestling with such things. But the boy just held him tighter, his voice thick with emotion. "Father." When Ethan asked again, there was no response but the boy's quiet breathing. Ethan stroked his hair, telling him to sleep. A system alert appeared, shimmering before his eyes. "The inner demon is obviously you, Father." At a critical moment in his studies, the demon took the form of his father in a scarlet robe, wrapping his arms around his waist and asking him to marry him. The demon Ethan, clothes in disarray, gazed up at him with moist eyes. "Noah, give up your ambition and marry your guardian. We'll be together forever." My God, who could resist that? Ethan was stunned. This was absurd. How could Noah harbor those kinds of feelings for him? The system continued. He only overcame the demon because he was greedy. He didn't just want to marry his father. He wanted to be a beast and censored him nightly. Nightly what? The rest of the message was a cascade of pixelated blocks. One after another, wanting to X and grab the professor's XXXXX. Ethan stared at the screen, a blush creeping up his neck. He had a strong feeling none of it was complimentary. Noah continued to nuzzle against his chest, murmuring in his sleep about how much he missed his father. Ethan decided to let it go. His mission was only to reform the three villains. By the time Noah's issues came to a head, he should already be back in his own world. A twisted protagonist would be the original Ethan's problem. With Noah back, Ethan's life became even more chaotic. Mornings were for tutoring Liam, afternoons were for fencing with Caleb, evenings were for sharing a drink with Jax, and nights were for holding Noah while he slept. Noah would bury his face in Ethan's chest. "Dad, I never had a mother." Ethan gripped the bedsheets, feeling the dampness through his shirt and a strange pressure. He gritted his teeth, his voice strained. "Be gentle." Did the original Ethan have to do this every night? After a month of this whirlwind, the system finally reappeared. Ethan's spirits lifted. He asked if the villains were reformed, if he could go home. The system's response was hesitant. "Sorry, I think I sent you to the wrong book. The mission parameters might have changed." What? The system explained that it was supposed to be a serious academic drama, but it seemed he'd been dropped into an erotic novel instead. Ethan's vision swam. He asked what that meant, how he was supposed to get home now. The system offered a sheepish solution. "Just finish the story. I can help speed things up." Before Ethan could ask what it meant, the world spun violently. When his vision cleared, he was in a deserted cabin in the woods. He looked up to see four concerned, handsome faces staring down at him. The system's voice echoed in his head. Host, I've arranged an aphrodisiac scenario for you. Just follow the script, and you'll be done soon. You just have to endure it. A little pain is normal. As the system's voice faded, an unfamiliar heat surged through him. His mouth opened against his will, speaking a line he didn't write. I think I've been drugged. For voices spoke at once. Liam, Professor, I can be the antidote. Caleb, brother, I can be the antidote. Jax, Ethan, I can be the antidote. Noah, Father, I can be the antidote. The system's feed went wild with excited text. Only 4? This is the scene I've been waiting for. I'm a college student. Let me watch first. In that instant, Ethan understood what the system meant. His face burned, and he silently cursed the system to every hell imaginable. He yelled in his mind for the system to come back, asking if there was another way. The system materialized, trying to reason with him. Look, host, you're gay anyway. These 4 guys aren't bad looking. Think of it as a free ride in someone else's body. You have some fun, and then you go home. What's not to like? Fun? His face was scarlet with indignation. He was a traditionalist. He was saving himself for someone he loved. And this was 4 people. But no matter how much he protested, the system had gone silent again. Liam was the first to move. He wrapped an arm around Ethan's waist. Professor, are you in pain? I can help. Ethan wanted to refuse, but his body leaned into the touch of its own accord. Liam's body was cool, so wonderfully cool. A sigh of relief escaped Ethan's lips. That sound was like a starting pistol. The eyes of the other 3 darkened. Caleb moved to pull Liam away, snarling that he was a deviant for trying to take advantage of his professor. Liam didn't even look up, his arms still holding Ethan. So what? It's not your professor I'm touching. The next to object was Jax. He declared that he and Ethan had a decade of history, a bond that none of these kids could match. If anyone was going to be the antidote, it would be him. Before he could finish, Noah cut him off with a "Truger ye be to shell. He's my guardian. Our father-son relationship is the closest of all." The argument escalated into a physical fight. Ethan lay on the floor, his body on fire, and let out a pained whimper. The fighting stopped instantly. They rushed to his side, and after exchanging a look, seemed to reach a silent agreement. Liam embraced him from behind. Ethan used his last shred of sanity to struggle. Don't. The next moment, a strip of crimson silk was tied over his eyes. It was the tie he had given Liam. A soft touch grazed his ear. Professor, just endure it. It'll be over soon. His vision gone, his other senses were magnified. A hand touched his face. Brother, can I kiss you? Fingers fumbled with the belt of his trousers. Ethan, I'll be gentle. Another hand slid inside the collar of his shirt. Father, you smell so good. The system's notifications were a chaotic blur of text. The teacher is the wife. Brother love is king. Father-son is the emperor. A rival can't be a wife, because then they'd enter the bed of love. If only there was an uncensored version. His consciousness drifted on a sea of endless heat. He didn't know how much time had passed before he groggily opened his eyes to the smell of hospital disinfectant. He was back in the modern world. Memories of the antidote flooded his mind, making his entire body flush. He tried to move and found he wasn't sore, just exhausted. The familiar weariness of an overworked employee. A surprised voice cut through the quiet. Team lead, you're finally awake. He turned his head to see his junior colleague, Chloe, her eyes red. She explained that she'd gone for a late-night snack and came back to find him slumped over his desk, unresponsive. The doctors had said he was lucky to be alive. His voice was raspy. He asked how long he'd been out if the project was delayed. She bit her lip, hesitating. Before he could press her, his boss called. The man's voice was a furious bark. Ethan, where the hell have you been? Where's the project proposal? He tried to explain he was in the hospital, that he had almost died, but was cut off. "Now you're learning to play sick? Ethan, you're fired." He was stunned. He asked about severance pay. "You want severance? Do you have any idea how much money the company lost because of you? We should be suing you." The line went dead. It was summer, but Ethan felt a deep chill. This was reality. The young woman beside him cursed under her breath, saying the boss was inhuman. She reminded him of all the unpaid overtime he'd put in, how he'd nearly worked himself to death, only to be fired without a shred of concern. She asked why he'd put up with it for so long when he was so capable. He clutched his phone. Why had he? He joined the small startup right out of college and had worked there for 5 years, doing the work of 3 people for a pittance. He stayed because of something the boss had said to him early on. "Ethan, think of this company as your home. If you ever have any trouble, come to me." Anyone else would have recognized it as corporate manipulation, but for Ethan, who had no home, it had felt real. As an orphan, he'd been rejected by countless companies after graduation. He'd overheard hiring managers whispering about him, about how kids from his background were bound to have personality issues, how they were unstable and hard to control. Despite having a better resume, he was always passed over. Only this boss had hired him, clapping him on the shoulder and telling him to think of him as family, that he wouldn't be treated unfairly. Ethan had cried with gratitude. And now, after nearly dying for that family, he had been cast out. After Chloe left, he was alone in the hospital. The doctor told him his recovery was a medical miracle and handed him the bill. After paying, he had $5,000 to his name. He looked at the balance and wanted to laugh, but the laughter turned into sobs. He didn't have the problem of dying with his money unspent. He didn't want to die because he was discontent. He wanted a family. He had never known happiness, had never even seen what it looked like. Tears fell silently in the stark white room. The Ethan in that other world had it pretty good. He had a student, a brother, a friend, a son. Even if the way they looked at him was far from platonic, that affection was something he had never experienced. He wasn't the real Ethan. He was just a thief who had temporarily enjoyed another man's life. Now he was back to being what he always was. A pathetic, lonely, unloved, and newly unemployed drone. And a drone had no right to rest. After being discharged, he threw himself into the job hunt. He landed an interview and was rushing into an elevator when he collided with someone. A voice from inside snapped, "Which department are you from? Watch where you're going." Apologized to the CEO. His heart sank. He hadn't even interviewed yet and he'd already run into the boss. He looked up to apologize and froze. He recognized the face. He breathed out a name. Liam. The man was dressed in an immaculate suit, his aura severe, but his face was identical to Liam's. The assistant next to him frowned, scolding him for having the audacity to use Mr. Thorne's first name. Liam Thorne raised a hand, silencing his assistant. He stared at Ethan, his expression unreadable. "Are you employed here?" Ethan shook his head, explaining he was there for an interview. It wasn't him. It wasn't his obedient student. They just looked alike. This man was a genuine, ice-cold CEO who didn't know him. Liam's deep voice spoke again. "You're hired. As my personal assistant." Ethan was taken aback. He was interviewing for the investment department. "The salary is $50K a month. You'll be on call 24/7. Be in my office tomorrow morning." Ethan swallowed the rest of his sentence. 50,000. That was 10 times his current savings. He accepted. The next day at work felt surreal. Liam Thorne stared at the frayed cuff of Ethan's shirt with a frown. Ethan flushed and tucked his hands behind his back. Thankfully, the CEO didn't comment. Having never been an assistant, Ethan spent the morning on edge. But Liam just told him to sit on the couch in his office and read the employee handbook, then immersed himself in his work. While reading, Ethan stole glances at him. The resemblance to the Liam from the book was uncanny, down to the way his lips thinned into a hard line when contemplating a problem. The only difference was that the books Liam would purse his lips and ask, "Professor, I'm having trouble with this passage. Could you please enlighten me?" Thinking of Liam brought back other, inappropriate memories. The aphrodisiac, Liam blindfolding him with the crimson tie, binding his wrists, his hot breath against his ear. "Professor, does it feel good? My face. Is it good looking?" Liam's deep voice pulled him from his reverie. Their eyes met. Ethan's face went scarlet, and he shook his head violently, burying his nose back in the handbook. Later, Liam took him to lunch, and surprisingly, all the dishes ordered were his favorites, though they looked expensive. Back in the office, with no tasks assigned, he continued reading. Near the end of the day, Liam finished his work and finally seemed to remember him. "Ethan." He looked up. Liam's dark eyes were fixed on him. "Scrub my back." Ethan was bewildered, but soon found himself holding a washcloth in the CEO's private executive bathroom. Liam's tall, muscular form was already in the large tub, his back to him. "Begin." Ethan lowered his head and started the task. When his cloth passed over a faint scar on Liam's back, his hand stilled. He knew that scar. In the book, it was from a whiplash dealt by the original Ethan. But what about the Liam of this world? How could even the scar be the same? A strange feeling crept over him. He reached out to touch it. The next second, he was pulled, clothes and all, into the tub. He thrashed in the water, and his wrists were suddenly bound with a burgundy silk tie. He panicked, struggling instinctively. "Mr. Thorne." A hoarse voice from above told him not to move. He froze. Something hard was pressing against him. The tie on his wrists was untied, only for his hand to be taken by a searingly hot grip and guided slowly downward. "Ethan, this is part of your duties as an assistant." He swallowed hard. For the money, he didn't resist. The temperature in the bathroom rose, and he felt himself growing hot as well. He closed his eyes against the steam and heat until a scorching breath hit his ear. "Don't close your eyes. Teach me, Professor." He snapped his eyes open, sure he had misheard. What did he call him? In the end, Liam insisted he was mistaken, that he had clearly said Ethan. He was dazed. The strange feeling lingered even after he left the office for the day. Liam had reverted to his cool, aloof persona, as if the man who had pulled him into the bath wasn't him. Ethan's face began to burn again. Liam looked down at him, his tone neutral. "See you on Monday, my personal assistant." Since he started on a Friday, he had the weekend off. After work, $50,000 was wired to his bank account with a message from Liam. "Clothing allowance. Buy yourself something better." He blushed and typed back a thank you. He was surprised to get a message from Chloe, who had also quit after he was fired. She asked if he was free to go to a concert with her the next day. She had front row seats, but her friend had bailed. He had no plans, so he agreed. The next day, when he saw the pop star's face on the giant screen, he stared, dumbfounded. He whispered to Chloe, asking for the singer's name. She was shocked. "That's Noah. You don't know who he is? Ethan, you really are a workaholic." His head was spinning. The same face, the same name. It was too much of a coincidence. As he was studying the face, Noah suddenly looked out into the crowd. Among thousands of people, their eyes met. Noah seemed to smile at him. The girls around them screamed. It must be a coincidence, he told himself. Before the concert ended, Noah flashed another charming smile. He announced that he wanted to pick one lucky fan to have a late dinner with him, on his dime. The stadium erupted. And then, over the roar of the crowd, that beautiful voice read out his seat number. Chloe looked at him with envy. How did you, the fake fan, get picked? He looked at the stage, at the eyes smiling directly at him. That strange feeling was back. Dinner was in a private, expensive-looking room. He felt out of place. Noah just stared at him, a cheerful tone in his voice. So, you're a fan? Ethan hesitated, then honestly shook his head. Disappointment flickered in those lovely eyes. Well, that's okay. After tonight, I'll make you a fan." Noah's easy confidence made Ethan feel even more awkward. He wasn't the clingy ward from the book. This Noah was a popular, charismatic celebrity who was great at conversation. His only flaw seemed to be that he was a lightweight. One drink and he was tipping over, his face flushed, his voice syrupy as he whined, "Fake fan, I think I'm drunk. Can I stay with you tonight?" Ethan was hesitant, asking about his assistant. But Noah had already slumped against him, completely passed out. Worse, his assistant was nowhere to be found, and his phone was locked. Ethan had no choice but to take this hot potato home with him. Noah had lost his mask somewhere, and to avoid him being recognized, Ethan draped his own jacket over the star's head and managed to haul the taller man into a cab. He hadn't anticipated how unruly a drunk Noah would be. In the car, Noah buried his head in Ethan's chest, and under the jacket, his fingers started unbuttoning Ethan's shirt. Ethan grabbed his arm, hissing to behave. Noah's voice was muffled, hot air puffing against his ear. "But I'm hungry." Ethan reminded him they had just eaten. Under the jacket, he patted Noah's head, promising to order takeout when they got home. That seemed to placate him. When they finally got to his apartment, Noah slammed him against the door, leaning down to snag a button with his teeth. Ethan tried to push him away, asking what he was doing. Noah managed to pop the button open, mumbling as he nuzzled against his bare chest. "Mommy." Ethan's face burned. "I'm not your mommy." He discovered drunk people were surprisingly strong. His wrists were pinned, and all he could do was let Noah bury his face in his chest, his voice slurring. "Ethan, you're my mommy." A wet, sharp sensation on his skin made him flinch. The pressure, the feeling, it was all too familiar, threatening to pull him back to that day in the cabin. He remembered the Noah in the book, lifting his head from Ethan's disheveled shirt, his voice husky. "Father, I'm sorry. I think I made you swell." The next morning, Noah apologized profusely. He said he tended to get rowdy when drunk and asked if he'd done anything inappropriate. He had no memory of it. Ethan, sporting dark circles under his eyes, silently pulled his robe tighter, covering the marks on his chest. "No, nothing." Noah seemed relieved. It wasn't until his assistant picked him up and he was looking in the bathroom mirror that Ethan saw the damage. The skin was bruised and swollen. He blushed. This body was far too sensitive. Just as he was about to try and get some sleep, he received a message from the director of the orphanage where he grew up. "Ethan, we found your family." He sat bolt upright, suddenly wide awake. The director explained he hadn't been abandoned, but had gotten lost as a child. He stared at the message, his eyes stinging. So he wasn't an unwanted child. Someone in the world loved him. But the next message filled him with anxiety. His parents had adopted a younger brother after he disappeared. Suddenly, every long-lost heir story he'd ever read flooded his mind. He had desperately wanted a family, but now he was terrified. He was afraid his parents wouldn't like him, that they'd prefer the son they raised, that his new brother would hate him and want him gone. The feeling intensified when he arrived at a sprawling villa, his own faded, well-worn clothes making him feel like an intruder. The butler led him inside. "The young master is here." He wrung his hands nervously. He had barely stepped through the door when he was pulled into a fierce hug. The embrace was warm, a woman's voice trembling. "Is really you, Ethan? I'm your mother." Hot tears fell onto his neck. He stiffened, then slowly returned the hug. A middle-aged man beside them patted his head. "Good boy. You're so grown up. We've been looking for you for so many years. How have you been?" Ethan's own eyes welled up. "Not good at all. I was so miserable without you." But he just nodded, his lips trembling. "I've been okay. It didn't matter." He had a family now. His parents talked to him for a long time, until their adopted son came home. Hearing the front door, all three of them grew tense. His parents carefully explained the situation about his brother. He tried his best to keep a smile on his face. And then his brother walked in. He was once again staring at a familiar face. It was Caleb. Amidst Ethan's stunned silence, Caleb strode forward and wrapped him in a tight hug, as if he'd known him forever. "Brother, welcome home." Caleb's reaction wasn't one of a threatened usurper. It was the genuine warmth of a younger brother welcoming his long-lost older sibling. He didn't hate Ethan, and he truly didn't seem to recognize him. He wasn't the Caleb from the book. That night, Ethan moved into the room his parents had prepared for him. It was much larger than his tiny apartment with its own bathroom. He was showering when there was a knock on the door. He rinsed off quickly and threw on a robe. It was Caleb. His gaze was intense, fixed on the skin visible above Ethan's collarbone. "Brother, my shower's broken. Can I use yours?" Ethan agreed, but said he wasn't finished yet, asking him to wait. Before he could finish, Caleb had stepped into the room, his large frame cornering Ethan against the door. His lips were almost touching Ethan's ear. "Brother, let's wash together." A welcome home gift. That strange feeling was back again. The bathroom was spacious, but with two adult men inside, it felt cramped. Caleb was scrubbing his back, his warm palms sliding over his skin. "Relax, brother." But Ethan's body only tensed further, his mind uncontrollably replaying hazy, intimate memories from the book. He remembered that day in the cabin, Caleb's hands just as hot, his voice a low, rough murmur. "Brother, can you take it? Brother, why is your face so red?" Caleb's voice pulled him back to the present. Ethan's throat felt dry. "It's nothing." He quickly finished showering and fled the small space. The sound of the shower continued for a long time. When Caleb finally emerged, he didn't leave. He walked slowly toward Ethan, who shrank back in his chair. Caleb reached out and twirled a damp strand of Ethan's hair around his finger. "Good night, brother." He thought seeing 3 doppelgangers from the book was the limit of absurdity. Then, while accompanying Liam to a business negotiation, he saw Jax. At that moment, all he could think was what a crazy coincidence this was. A colleague was secretly texting him. "That's Jax Riley. He's notoriously difficult. This is the first time our boss has met with him. It's a clash of titans." Ethan didn't dare reply. Jax was staring right at him, his eyes like a predator spotting its prey. That strange feeling returned, stronger than ever. The next thing he knew, Jax pointed at him. "The deal is on the table, but I'll only discuss it with him. Alone." "No," Liam replied instantly. Jax raised an eyebrow, his tone dripping with insinuation. "It seems Mr. Thorne is very protective of his little assistant. Mr. Riley can make other demands, but not him. He is my personal assistant." Liam bit out the words "my personal" with sharp emphasis. Jax's eyes narrowed. Ethan's colleague texted again. "See? I told you. Riley's just messing with him, using you to stall." In the end, the negotiation failed. Neither man would yield. As Ethan stood to leave with Liam, Jax's voice called out from behind them. Ethan stopped, his heart hammering in his chest. He spun around. He couldn't be mistaken. That's what the Jax in the book had called him. That day in the cabin, he had whispered it in his ear. "Just hold on. It'll be over soon." He opened his mouth. "Are you, Jax? The one from the book?" But before he could finish, Liam was dragging him away, shoving him into the back of a car. Liam's handsome face was inches from his voice a low command. "My personal assistant will refrain from fraternizing with the competition." He had no choice but to push the strange feelings down. His life, once solitary, was now constantly crowded. At work, Liam took him everywhere, involving him in matters that felt far beyond the scope of a personal assistant, including things that crossed personal boundaries. In the executive bathtub, Liam would hold his wrist, his expression serious. "Ethan, this is part of your job. Please don't close your eyes and neglect your duties." Ethan would comply, his face burning, until his arm ached. Liam's voice would be a satisfied, husky murmur. "Your technique is improving. You are an excellent assistant." After, he would wash Ethan's hands himself, leaving him so flustered he wanted to disappear into the floor. After work, he was sometimes dragged out for drinks by Noah. Despite being a public figure with a low tolerance for alcohol, Noah insisted on meeting. If Ethan refused, Noah would just stare at him with those beautiful eyes, his voice wheedling. "Aren't we friends?" The word friend was a beautiful, heart-wrenching thing. In his real life, he'd never had one. Every time they met, Noah would have one drink and then become a limpet, insisting on going back to Ethan's place. There, he would pin Ethan down, his head buried in his chest. "Mommy, you smell so good. So soft." Ethan would try in shame to cover his mouth, insisting he wasn't his mother. Noah's face would be flushed, his eyes bright as he looked up. "Yes, Father." Ethan's face would burn even hotter, the moment transporting him back to the other world. A drunk Noah really would say anything. Weekends at his new home were spent with his brother Caleb, who was home from university. Caleb was always following him around. At night, he'd bring his pillow to Ethan's room. "Brother, Mom and Dad said we should get closer." Pinned in his embrace, Ethan felt suffocated. He'd ask Caleb not to hold him so tightly. In the morning, Caleb would be whispering in his ear, his voice thick with sleep. "Don't be shy, brother. This is what brothers do. We help each other out." Hot breath tickled his already red earlobe. "You don't have to hold back your sounds, brother. The room is soundproof. Mom and Dad won't hear." "Shut up," Ethan would mumble, burying his face in his pillow. This was entirely too close. One weekday, he accompanied Liam to a business gala and ran into Jax again. He raised his glass to Ethan from across the room. Ethan wanted to go over, but Liam's hand clamped down on his arm. "Ethan, I forbid you to go to him." He had to let it go. He would find another chance. He needed to ask Jax why he had called him Eth, if he, like Ethan, had come from the book and remembered everything. But he never got the chance. While Liam was networking, Ethan accepted a drink from a passing waiter. A moment later, a familiar heat washed over him. His body went weak, and he felt a burning sensation from within. He tried to call for Liam, but only a low whimper escaped his lips. He bit down on his lip, fighting for control. Just as his consciousness began to fade, he was swept into a pair of arms. "Don't bite your lip." He was carried to a room. It was so hot. He desperately tried to press himself against the cool body holding him, but another pair of hands pulled him away. The sound of a familiar argument started. He let out a sob of pure misery. He felt awful. Then, a burgundy tie was tied over his eyes. He heard more than one sigh around him. A voice said, "How did he get into this mess again?" Another answered, "It's all right. We'll be the antidote." And a third, "Just hold on. You'll feel better soon." Liam, Caleb, Jax, and Noah. The four men should never have had anything to do with each other. But one night, they all woke up with a new set of memories. Memories so vivid and real, filled with joy, sorrow, anger, and love. And at the center of them all was one man, Ethan. Liam had been raised to be an heir, not a son. His parents' love was cold and conditional. Only his grandmother had ever treated him like a child, but she was gone now. He had become the powerful, emotionless successor his parents wanted. But in those memories, he was a mediocre student with a professor who was willing to teach him, to love him without condition or expectation. He didn't need to be brilliant or powerful. Ethan would love him anyway, and Liam was willing to drown in that affection. Caleb was adopted. He knew this because he had grown up watching his parents pour their energy and resources into finding their biological son. He knew they loved him, but for a child starved of security, it was never enough. He was terrified that when they found his brother, they would discard him. So he pushed himself to be the best, hoping to outshine a ghost. He simultaneously wished for and dreaded the day his brother was found. Then the memories came. In them, he was also constantly compared to his brother. That brother was an arrogant, frustrating rival. But then that brother changed. He looked at Caleb with kindness, told him he was the most talented person he knew, that life wasn't a competition. Caleb had stared at him, stunned, and lowered his sword. This was what validation felt like. He didn't hate his brother. He thought he might be in love with him. Noah was a superstar. Everyone loved the bright, shining idol, but no one loved the real him. He was gay, a secret he guarded carefully from a fan base that adored him while spewing homophobic vitriol online. He knew it was wrong to hide, to lie, but he had no choice. He could only be the perfect star. Until he remembered. He remembered a man named Ethan, his father, who seemed to embrace every part of him, even the ugliest thoughts. He remembered tearing open his father's shirt, and Ethan, blushing, had only whispered for him to be gentle. So many people loved the public Noah, but only Ethan loved the real one. Jax was known as a ruthless businessman. He didn't care. He prioritized profit over people, logic over sentiment. He had no friends. Former ones called him a selfish, cold-hearted machine. And he didn't care. He was a businessman, not a philanthropist. He thought he would always be this way. But then he remembered. He remembered Ethan. They two had fallen out over business. They had been friends, then rivals. And Jax had thought they would always be rivals. Until the day Ethan came to him asking for a truce, his expression seeming to say, "See, Jax? We just chose different paths. It doesn't mean I ever stopped wanting to be your friend." When he woke up, Jax thought a selfish, cold businessman can have friends. Our positions are different, but it doesn't mean I don't love you. Right, Ethan? You exist in this world too, don't you? After gaining the memories, the four men went on with their successful lives. But something was missing. Until, one by one, they met him again. Turned out that love at first sight was real. Professor, brother, father. It's been a long time,